Hello everyone. Today we're taking an in-depth look at a masterpiece with a title that may sound disturbing at first, but one that will leave your heart in pieces once you experience it. I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. We'll be breaking down every aspect of this unforgettable anime, from its emotional narrative and character development to the deeper themes hidden beneath the surface. Before we begin, let me introduce myself. I'm Miu, and welcome to my channel. I'm a new anime reviewer, and I'll be sharing my thoughts, analyses, and discussions about all kinds of anime. If you love anime as much as I do,
I hope you'll enjoy the content and stick around for future videos.
let's start from the very beginning of the story, by going back to the place where the anime first presents us with its famous title, the school library. There, we see our main character, Haruki, quietly organizing books on the shelves. Haruki is a withdrawn and antisocial boy who has completely shut himself off from forming connections with others, choosing instead to live in his own world. Then, Sakura walks into the library, the most popular and lively girl in their class. And here comes that iconic line,
I want to eat your pancreas.
spoken for the very first time between these library shelves, slipping out of Sakura's mouth. When Sakura says it for the first time, she's actually joking with Haruki. To be honest,
If someone actually came up to me and made that joke, I'd feel pretty weird about it. Anyway, back to the topic.
it reflects an old belief that if a person was ill, they could heal by eating the corresponding organ from another living being. She talks about having pancreatic cancer and slowly dying in such a cheerful, almost joking way that even Haruki can't believe it at first. But this library scene isn't just an introduction. It's where the entire philosophy of the anime is set in motion. Because as the story progresses, that sentence evolves and transforms into something far more emotional. A spiritual farewell meaning. I want to be a part of you. I want to live within you. So where does Haruki realize that this isn't some kind of joke? At the hospital. While he's there for a completely unrelated reason, he notices a leather-bound notebook lying on the floor. Written on the cover are the words, living with dying. Out of curiosity, he opens it, and in that moment, he comes face to face with the terrible secret Sakura has been hiding. A terminal illness. Just then, Sakura appears in the hallway. The moment Sakura realizes her secret has been exposed, the cheerful mask she always wears slips for just a second. But she quickly regains her composure and desperately begs Haruki to keep it a secret. Although Sakura can't hide her terminal illness from her family, she has gone to great lengths to keep it hidden from everyone at school, including her closest friend Kyoko. While her family constantly worries about her and treats her with extreme care, Sakura wants to escape those pitying looks. Before long, she realizes something unexpected. Haruki, the one person who knows her secret, doesn't pity her at all. He treats her the same way he always has, almost like a robot, completely unaffected by the revelation. And because of that, Sakura finds that she's able to breathe and act like a normal person when she's around him. After that hospital encounter, Sakura begins showing up at the library whenever she gets the chance. She starts following Haruki around and constantly dragging him out to spend time with her. And that's when all hell breaks loose at school. Their classmates are completely against it. Kyoko, Sakura's best friend, practically despises Haruki. The popular crowd and even the class representative look at him like he's the enemy. In their eyes, Sakura is the kind, beloved girl who deserves the very best, so they can't understand why she'd choose to spend time with someone as quiet, withdrawn, and socially isolated as Haruki. The pressure keeps building until Haruki essentially becomes a target in his own classroom. But Sakura doesn't care what anyone thinks. Once she saw that unshakable tree inside Haruki, the part of him that remains firmly rooted no matter what others say, she couldn't help being drawn to him. Ignoring all the pressure and gossip from her classmates, Sakura decides to drag Haruki along on the first major trip from her Things I Want to Do Before I Die list. Together they ride trains, try street food, laugh, and enjoy moments that feel almost ordinary. Eventually, a situation forces them to share the same hotel room. Up to this point, everything feels like a lighthearted coming-of-age story. But then the film hits us with a cinematic punch. When Haruki opens Sakura's bag, countless medications, syringes, and medical supplies spill out before him. In an instant, he's confronted with the reality he has been trying to ignore. For the first time, Sakura's death is no longer an abstract idea. It's something tangible, something painfully real. Behind that bright smile and endless energy lies the undeniable presence of death. Later that night, the two begin playing a game of truth or dare. What starts as a simple game quickly becomes the thing that tears down the invisible walls between them. Through her questions, Sakura digs deeper and deeper into Haruki's heart, while she herself struggles to hide the childlike fear she feels toward her approaching death. And when the night finally comes to an end, Sakura falls asleep from exhaustion. In one of the story's most quietly powerful moments, Haruki gently lifts her fragile body and carries her to the bed. For someone who has spent his entire life avoiding people and keeping them at a distance, this becomes the first moment in which the seeds of genuine care and protectiveness begin to take root in his heart. Now let's talk about one of the most tense, controversial, and heavily discussed moments in the entire story. The famous scene at Sakura's house, where we see both characters at their most raw and emotionally exposed. Sakura tells Haruki that she's going to lend him a copy of The Little Prince. Wanting to borrow the book, Haruki visits Sakura's home for the first time, stepping into her personal space in a way he never has before. The two spend some time playing video games, joking around and enjoying each other's company. Everything feels comfortable, normal, and surprisingly relaxed. Then, out of nowhere, Sakura says something that completely changes the atmosphere. I want to do something inappropriate with someone who doesn't love me and has no feelings for me. This is where the real turning point begins. The important thing to understand is that Sakura isn't being serious at all. Like she often does, she's simply teasing Haruki and trying to get a reaction out of him. To her, it's just another playful joke, a way to embarrass him and watch his usual serious, robotic demeanor crack for a moment. But Haruki interprets it very differently. He's a boy who has spent most of his life avoiding people. He's never been comfortable with relationships, and this is the first time he's ever been alone in a girl's room. Deep down, he's already nervous, and because of his lack of experience with human relationships, he instinctively takes Sakura's words far more seriously than she intended. For a brief moment, he believes she actually means what she said. And when he realizes that it was all just a joke, that Sakura was simply messing with him, something inside him snaps. All the emotions he has been suppressing begin crashing down at once. The pressure from their classmates, the constant reminder that Sakura is dying, the confusion of his growing feelings, and the humiliation of misunderstanding the situation. Everything merges into a sudden explosion of anger and frustration. In that moment, Haruki forcefully pushes Sakura onto the bed. For the first time, the indifferent mask he's always hidden behind completely shatters. Then reality hits him. As Sakura begins to cry, Haruki is immediately overwhelmed by shame and guilt. Horrified by his own actions, he rushes out of the house without knowing how to face her. Standing alone in the rain, he breaks down. What's important here is that Haruki isn't truly angry at Sakura. He's angry at himself. He's furious at the fact that he lost control, that emotions he never wanted to acknowledge managed to overwhelm him so completely. More than anything else, this scene reveals the person hiding behind Haruki's walls. Beneath his cold exterior is someone incredibly fragile, vulnerable, and deeply human. And for both of them, this incident marks a major realization. Their relationship is no longer just a shared secret between two classmates. They've become emotionally important enough to hurt one another. And that means their bond has already grown far deeper than either of them expected. After that massive emotional outburst, Sakura is hospitalized a few days later due to complications related to her illness. During this period, while Sakura tells her classmates a different story about why she's in the hospital, Haruki visits her every single day. Then comes the famous fireworks scene, a moment that takes their relationship to an entirely new level. As colorful fireworks light up the night sky, the two embrace each other. Beneath those dazzling colors, Sakura reveals just how desperately she wants to keep living, while Haruki begins to realize that he has become deeply attached to her. It's also around this point that the meaning behind their names becomes especially significant. Sakura, whose name refers to the cherry blossom, a flower known for its brief and fragile life, enters the life of Haruki, whose name evokes the image of a spring tree. She helps him grow, bloom, and come alive, even as she slowly moves closer to her own end. The anime illustrates Haruki's slow and quiet transformation through a remarkably subtle detail. The boy in his class who is always offering him a piece of gum. Throughout the film, whenever this classmate approaches Haruki, he silently holds out a stick of gum. And every single time, Haruki refuses without hesitation, because accepting the gum would mean accepting a connection with another person. Since Haruki has closed himself off from the world around him, he always turns the offer down. But in the final scene where Sakura is still alive, Haruki finally accepts the gum. And that small gesture speaks volumes. More clearly than any speech or dramatic moment, it shows that Haruki has finally begun to break out of his shell. For the first time, he is ready to let other people into his life. And now, we arrive at the moment that completely shatters our hearts, the story's biggest turning point. After being discharged from the hospital, Sakura makes plans to meet Haruki at a restaurant they've both been wanting to visit. Haruki arrives first. He sits down and waits. Hours pass. The sky grows darker. Yet Haruki remains there, sitting alone at the table. Eventually, he takes out his phone and sends Sakura the message that has become one of the most iconic lines in the film. I want to eat your pancreas. In other words, I want to be like you. I want a part of you to live on inside me. The message is delivered. Sakura sees it, but she never arrives. As viewers, we're convinced we know what's happening. We assume her illness has suddenly worsened, that she collapsed on the way, or that she has been rushed back to the hospital. After all, the story has spent the entire film preparing us for a tragedy caused by disease. But then the anime hits us with one of the most devastating twists imaginable. Sakura doesn't fail to show up because of her illness. While walking through the city, she is randomly attacked and killed by a murderer. A young girl who spent months battling a terminal disease and preparing herself for death doesn't die because of that disease at all. Instead, she becomes the victim of a meaningless and senseless act of violence. And that is precisely the point. Life is unpredictable. Watching Haruki sit alone at that restaurant, staring at the empty seat across from him until night falls, only to later learn the truth through a television news report, is absolutely heartbreaking. The overwhelming emptiness he feels in that moment, the shock, the unfairness, the realization that all those future moments have been stolen away, isn't just Haruki's pain. It's a reflection of life itself. After Sakura's death, Haruki reads her diary and comes to an important realization. More than anything else, Sakura had wanted Haruki and her best friend, Kyoko, to become friends. She knew that once she was gone, Kyoko would be left behind with an overwhelming sense of loss and loneliness. At the same time, she was afraid that Haruki would retreat back into the isolated world he had lived in before meeting her. That's why Haruki begins doing something he never would have considered before. He starts spending time with Kyoko and genuinely tries to become her friend. It isn't easy. Throughout most of the story, Kyoko sees Haruki as the strange boy who took Sakura away from her. Her resentment toward him doesn't disappear overnight. But Haruki refuses to give up. For Sakura's sake, and out of the immense love and respect he still holds for her memory, he takes a step that once terrified him. He chooses to share Kyoko's pain instead of avoiding it. To fulfill Sakura's final wish, he sets aside his pride and tears down the walls he spent years building around himself. Then comes one of the film's most meaningful moments. While visiting Sakura's grave and promising to support one another in her absence, the tension between them finally begins to melt away. Suddenly, Kyoko tosses a piece of gum toward Haruki. Throughout the film, Haruki always rejected similar offers from classmates and strangers. Every piece of gum represented a chance to form a connection, and he consistently pushed those opportunities away. But this time is different. Haruki catches the gum. It's a small action, yet it carries enormous meaning. The scene symbolizes that the bridge Sakura built between people did not disappear with her death. Instead, it became a legacy that continues through the bond forming between Kyoko and Haruki. The anime never explicitly tells us that they become a couple. However, it strongly suggests that what began as an uncomfortable friendship born from grief may eventually grow into a deep connection capable of healing them both, and perhaps even into a gentle form of love someday. Sakura faded from the world like a cherry blossom carried away by the wind. Yet before leaving, she connected two wounded souls, and in doing so, she allowed Haruki, the spring tree she helped nurture, to keep growing long after she was gone. And that is why I Want to Eat Your Pancreas is so much more than just a sad anime about loss. At its core, it's a story about connection, about how a single person can completely change your life, even if they're only part of it for a short time. Sakura's life was brief, but the impact she left behind was immeasurable. Through her, Haruki learned how to open his heart, how to value the people around him, and how to truly live. Maybe that's the message this story wants us to remember. Our time is limited, but the connections we create can outlive us. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this analysis, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more anime reviews and discussions. Until next time, this is Miu. Take care.